Are you tired of spending more to get the same yield? Or perhaps you're finding that your budget is just exhausted by some low performing marketing initiatives. As you all know, just simply generating more leads and applications does not necessarily result in higher enrollment. So it is absolutely critical that at private boarding and day schools that you really focus on your actual drivers of yield. And by that, I mean registered enrollments on campus, on not just applications, not just leads, but what's actually driving the enrollments that you have. So if you're accurately tracking your lead and application data, you should be able to distill your top drivers into the top 3 to 5. And so you can do that tracking in a number of ways. First of all, you can have a good drop down menu in your online application about how clients heard about you. You can also do a check as people are registering and enrolling onto campus. And you can also use dashboards on Google Analytics and within your CRMs. So let's focus in on some of the benefits of search engine marketing. And let's talk about how critical that can be to driving more actual enrollments. So first of all, if you look at the drivers of your yield, you're probably going to find that your website is your main hub. And the time and energy and effort you're putting in to push your website into the top of the search engine is really paying off. And that's your search engine optimization tactics. Those basically are the unpaid aspects of search activity. Now, you may be paying someone to help you implement SEO tactics, but that is the organic or unpaid aspect of search activity. Now, search engine marketing is the paid advertising, and I lean heavily towards Google Ads. You certainly could experiment with the other search engines, but quite honestly, I have to say, from over 15 years of experimentation, and because most schools have limited budgets, why spread yourselves too thin between different search engines? The second driver, main driver, is you probably, and hopefully this is your number one driver, is referrals. You should be getting lots of referrals from friends and your local community. And you can really generate that through your social media advertising. And that can be extremely useful to create that buzz, get people sharing information with their friends, and really penetrating key markets where your enrollments are coming from. Now, you may also find that the mainstay of your referrals are coming from your current students, families, whether they're current families or former families. And that can be parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, etc. And then, of course, your alumni. So you want to lean heavily into how you can generate referrals from your students, families, and alumni, excuse me, but you also really want to cultivate that kind of friend factor, like I was talking about before. And I have a whole blog on how to ramp up your referrals, so you might want to check that particular one out, or listen to the YouTube video on that particular topic. Now, the other driver of yield tends to really center around referral websites like Boarding School Review, Private School Review. Many schools are leaning into niche, great schools, and then other association websites. For instance, if you're a boarding school, you probably may have a membership with the Association of Boarding Schools, or you may be part of a very small association, like if you're a military school, the Military Association of Schools and Colleges and Universities. Or perhaps you're part of the Western Boarding School Association, or an association in your respective regional area. Some of those sites can also be productive because they often have lists of schools. So you want to be on all of these school directories, be on as many listings as you possibly can. But one of the main referral sites is Boarding School Review because it has that great side-by-side capability where you can compare up to 3 schools and how they rank on SATs, their enrollment numbers, college acceptances, their endowments, a variety of different factors. So I find that that is one referral site that is worth paying for and that is really productive. But it does really benefit schools to be on these other sites because they show up high within organic search activity. So they really help your SEO activity because they're going to show up high on those first pages of search, and you want to be on those sites. So now let's turn a little bit more and dig a little deeper into SEM because that's really the core of what I want to talk about today and what the key benefits of SEM happen to be. Now, some schools, may really question, should I really, have this huge spend on Google Ads? It seems so high and it usurps such a big part of my marketing budget. But one of the key things is that what you're doing is you're building that brand redundancy. So if someone, searches for a boarding school in California, for instance, and your website comes up in organic, you also want to have it show up in paid because then people go, oh, hey, this school's showing up a couple of times. I better check it out. It kind of is tied with reputation management and how to, make sure your school is standing out, that people see you as a reputable, institution, and that, you give people more opportunities to click on your respective website when they're doing searches. So they may find you on a paid ad, they may see your website popping up on that page, and then they may also find you on these referral websites, or you may even have a blog that has become so popular that it's showing up. Most likely it's showing up under your website activity, a direct search to your website on that respective page. But some blogs, if they're general enough and universal enough, they can gain so much traction that they really do start to stand out on larger or more expanded searches. The second thing that SEM really can do for you is it makes searches easy. Because in a text ad, for instance, you have the opportunity to distill and really differentiate your school from others so that prospective families avoid these time-consuming searches. So really make sure that you help your prospects quickly and easily determine, are you a boarding or day school? Are you co-ed or single gender? What grade levels are associated with your respective school? And enhance those text ads with powerful headlines. Use some of your key messaging that is really, really working for you. And there are lots of ways to test messaging and do A/B testing, but there are also ways to really see which ads are working best based on the click-through rate that you are getting and the number of conversions. So you really want to lean towards, that kind of messaging that makes the search activity easy for families to go, hey, this is exactly the kind of school I'm getting. And you don't want them to quickly bounce off your site and be frustrated and feel like there's a bait and switch, that you're pulling them into a site, but that it has no relevancy to what they really want. So make sure too that you differentiate your schools. So if you have a great STEM program or STEAM or leadership, or you have an equestrian program, whatever it may be, make sure you add some of those differentiators in your respective messaging. The other day, I heard a webinar and each of the respective admission directors introduced their schools, but it was really fascinating because they all really sounded a lot alike. They were all college prep. They were all high schools. They all offered boarding. Um, I really didn't get a sense of what a day looked like or something really that would excite a prospective family about the experience itself. So you really want to tell your story somehow, and include those differentiators. The third thing that SEM can really do for you is it helps you build synergy. So think about, once again, your website as the center of the wheel, and SEO and SEM as spokes, referral sites as spokes, your email newsletters, perhaps your social media initiatives. All of those are spokes, but your website is the center point. And so you're building this strong presence, and you are maximizing all your other marketing initiatives so that you are really capitalizing on the budget and time that you are putting into these main drivers of yield. And just continue to think about how they interact and complement one another. So for instance, you've got your website. Okay, you're showing up on, the first page of search when people are looking for key search terms. You're seeing your paid advertising through Google Ads. Then they click onto your website. They may see an incredible blog that is very tied with a question they may have about your respective institution or about private schools in general. They start to receive your email newsletters, and then they get information that is tied with your social media accounts, maybe some blogs that you want to call out to those families. So you're starting to create this synergistic effect between all of those marketing initiatives and your respective platforms, and how they all complement one another, and they can start to build and drive more traffic to your website. The other fourth thing that you need to think about is that search engine marketing really allows you to do these very specific demographic targeting activities. The other day, I noticed on one of my marketing groups, people are asking about direct mail and how to track the results. Well, honestly, I mean, let's face it, you're lucky if you get 0.5% in direct mail. But with Google Ads, what you can do is you can track the fact that you only want the top 10% or 20% or 30% of incomes. You can target the specific states or cities where enrollments are actually coming from. So you're really putting your spend behind places where you know your students come from. You can track the ages so that you're not spending money on really young audiences that may not even have children in your age range. There are some incredible ways to even go even deeper by reaching audiences that are really looking for education, private education, K through 12, secondary schools. So Google Ads has such an incredible and robust platform. And then tied within that, you can learn how to use Google Analytics so that you can analyze that data, really see where all your traffic is coming from, see the landing pages that are working, the keywords that are working. You can look at your states and locations and really see what's happening there. So I am a real big believer in highly refined demographics, and I work with a lot of clients in just really refining that against where their enrollments are actually coming from, so that we really maximize their spend in Google Ads. And then the other thing too that Google Ads really allows you to do is it allows you to, eliminate the expense of some of these low performing initiatives. If you start to drill down on your top 3 to 5 drivers of yield, you're going to find that your SEO and SEM are at the top of that heap. And if you can look at some of those initiatives that are not generating actual enrollments, like direct mail, like TV and radio that are very high cost, perhaps you're still doing some print advertising. I'm a big believer in being really careful about your advertising budget. So everyone's leaning more towards the digital these days. If you are doing any print at all, it should be very low cost, listings in local directories, perhaps something along those lines. But I would really encourage you to look at your budget and get rid of the initiatives that are not resulting in actual bona fide enrollments and redirect a large portion of that budget to your SEO and SEM and referral initiatives. Those 3 are going to really serve you well. So if you implement SEM, make sure you do so properly. Please feel free to reach out to me for a 1-hour complimentary consultation. I really try and keep my SEM work very affordable for private schools because I realize they don't have a lot of budget to allocate to the day-to-day management. And I really focus on looking at my clients' accounts 5 days out of every week because Google is constantly changing. So if you do not have the time and energy and bandwidth or inclination to drill down and self-train yourself like I did over 15 years ago, reach out. I'm more than happy to, work with you and, develop a strategy that works within your budget and that will really yield strong results for you. So thank you so much for joining me today. Hope you will subscribe to this channel. Feel free to comment if you have questions and share with others. And please feel free to reach out by phone or by email or check out apertureadvisory.com for more information. So thank you so much for joining me today. And always remember, open your aperture, keep your focus. As George Lucas, the famous filmmaker, said, focus determines your reality. So thank you so much and hope to catch you soon.